This is Real Estate Rookie Show number 36. My name is Ashley Kerr, and today we have an exclusive with my co-host Felipe Mejia, as this is the first time he's ever talked about why he doesn't like Excel and spreadsheets. So make sure you listen to the very end because he goes on a
You have
rant
to listen
about
all the way in about why I hate Excel sheets. So finally, I've let the cat out the bag. The information is in there. But as always, Ashley, we're not here to talk about me or my Excel sheet phobia. We're going to talk about Gary, who seems like a really laid back, super chill dude down in Florida who has 2 duplexes. He works at a gym. He says they're like, he talks about just having really modest jobs, but still investing in real estate slowly and growing a portfolio. And good for him. He's a father, full-time job, investing in real estate, just super relaxed guy. Doesn't take it too serious.
I just want to say thank you because you always get me back on track. That's why we make it such a great team. Yes, Gary is great. He talks about how he got interested in financial independence, how he started buying properties for his family to create wealth. And he works at a gym and started networking there and actually found a great mentor to help him.
Hey, Gary, welcome to the show, man. Super excited to have you. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, of course. My name's Gary. I live in Jacksonville, Florida with my wife and 2 kids. And as far as for work goes, I work full time at a local gym called Bailey's. And I've been there for about 8 years. It's probably one of the most stress-free jobs there is. But with that comes little pay. So that's kind of my motivation for real estate investing, right?
Well, before we jump into like the boring real estate stuff, I just want to know, what is your opinion on Felipe's biceps? As someone that works at a gym, can you please critique them for us?
Let's go. Hit a flex.
Are you ready for it? Are you ready for it, Gary? Are you ready for this bomb on the show?
Boom. Oh man.
Okay, please continue with your story.
All right. So outside of the gym, I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor for about 2 years, and I will say I haven't done much with it. It's kind of like a double-edged thing because with that, I work for a broker and they specialize in tenant placement and property management. So I guess that's like the silver lining in it. But I definitely wasn't able to really catapult myself with having a full-time job and 2 kids is, a little much for me. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Interesting. I love that. I love that you at least you have your license though. So one of the things that people always ask me is, Felipe, is it worth me getting my license there as a real estate investor? And you know, at first I would have said no, but now that my wife has her license, it's helped us out a lot with just looking at the MLS. And then with 1 deal a year, it basically pays for all the dues, right? So to me, exactly. I think it is worth at least having. Have you seen that at least having your real estate license has helped you as an investor?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why, I suggest when people bring it up to me like, hey, should I get my real estate license? I'm always like, yeah, definitely. If anything, it's more knowledge, But I will say, as far as the money aspect goes, your dues, at least in Florida, are like $1,000 a year, maybe. And you get 1 house and that pays for it, over. And that's kind of what helped me with my second deal. And I saved a lot of money by being my own realtor there. But really, I've just done 2 deals as a realtor, just mine and my brother's, actually. It's kind of funny.
So let's start with what made you take that first step to buy your first investment property.
Yeah. So we'll kind of, for transparency, go back to the beginning because I think everybody loves a good beginning. So
yes, definitely.
Why real estate investing, right? I working at Bailey's, wasn't making much money, I think what it boils down to though is I hate authority, like most people. I want to be my own boss. I don't like people telling me what to do. So that led me into this dive, on the internet of, I'm sure you've heard of FIRE, Financially Independent, Retire Early. And so, a lot of research, and Robert Kiyosaki, of course, popped up a million times, just like every episode of any real estate investing show. And, so I read all of his books, and a member at the gym, really, he was into real estate investing and actually gave me my first book on it. It was called Investing in Duplexes, Triplexes, and Quadplexes. and honestly, one of the better books out there, in my opinion. And so that's kind of what sparked me on it. After I read it in about a week, I was like, this is it. I'm doing it, and so from there, I kind of just started researching, all the different strategies that people have used. And with that, a little bit later, I got my classic first plan, which was a FHA, duplex. So very little money down, the classic scenario as far as house hacking.
So you talked about financial independence a little bit. Did you do anything with your personal finances before you took that leap into real estate investing? Did you pay off debt? Did you save a ton of money? What did that look like?
No, none of the above.
Yeah.
I kind of, that whole analysis paralysis thing, it definitely didn't do that. I think you want to take action before your mind gets a chance to think. So I really just started talking to it with my wife, and, I was a realtor at the time. But I didn't I didn't buy it as a realtor though. So yeah, I was just looking through MLS and I found a deal, and we kind of just did it with the help of her grandpa, kind of giving us some down payment funds, because we were having our first kid at the time. So that really helped us out as far as getting our whole deal, but no type of planning whatsoever. I just know this is what I wanted to do. I know all the strategies out there. So yeah.
Gary, give us give us a 30,000-foot view of where you're at now, where your portfolio is, where you want to get to. What's the goal with real estate? And then if you want to go ahead and start digging into one of your deals, we'd love to hear a story.
Well, my ultimate goal is to be filthy rich, right?
Isn't that all of our goals?
Money, money, money.
Yeah, that's right. So as far as my two deals, I purchased both of them kind of within a year. My first one was the FHA duplex. So right now I just have 4 units, 2 duplexes, a couple blocks from each other in kind of a hipster area of Jacksonville, Florida.
What time period? Like, how long did it take you to acquire these 4?
So I think it was like 2018. At the beginning of 2018, we purchased our first duplex. And then at the end in November, we got married. And then as soon as we came back from our honeymoon from Italy, we bought our second duplex.
Nice.
And
awesome.
It took a little finagling, but so that's kind of where we are. 2 duplexes, a couple blocks from each other. And so as far as the second deal, that's what I'm going to say is my pride and joy. That has a lot more potential than my first. So that one took some strategic planning. This deal had been on MLS for half a year, maybe almost a year. Nobody was getting it. I wasn't sure why. But anyways, I ended up taking a look at it. I loved it. Basically, I had as far as financing goes, we didn't have much money. We had a kid. We just got married. So not much money coming in at all there. So what I was going to do at first was finance it through Navy Federal's 100% financing, which is like a gold mine. It's like, oh, wow, okay, I can finance a house with like nothing down. So at first it was going all smooth. I submitted an offer for it. It was like around $250,000. So I submitted an offer at 238 and it was accepted. I did my inspection, things like that. And then Navy Federal comes back and says, we're not going to give you that product anymore because you aren't qualified. So I had to kind of go elsewhere. So I ended up applying at like 5 other mortgage places, ending with PNC Bank here in Florida. And, not knowing how I was going to come up with the money, I ended up doing a 5% down is what I ended up doing.
Wow,
and that
on
gave me
an
a lot
investment property? That's great.
Yeah, well, house hacking, I guess, sorry. House hacking.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay. So you're going to live in there.
So, yeah, and kind of how both of my places are set up. It's a house, a single family home, and then behind it, there's an apartment above the garage. And so they're priced just as a regular single family, but rented out both of them and they can bring in a good chunk of change.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so 5% down is what I ended up doing after a couple trial and errors, we'll say. So with that one, I ended up using my realtor commission. Felipe, talk about, if it's worth it or not. That was an extra, $6,000 towards closing costs that I was able to save with that. And then on top of that, I had a 3% seller concession. that was about 7 grand. And then towards like a total closing cost of, I think it was like $12,000. So that helped me out a lot. I did a 401k like installment loan for like 3 grand. And then
let's talk about that real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
Can you explain about that? Because that actually is a resource that people could use.
Yeah, definitely. So I work at a gym. I don't really make much money, but I've been there for 8 years. So I had a little bit saved up. And at first I tried to do like a hardship withdrawal, basically, but they didn't approve me for it or something. So they said you have to take out a loan first before they will do any type of withdrawals. So I did the loan for 3 grand. They sent me a check maybe a week later, and it's just set up. You can customize the payments however you'd like, and it's not like on your credit report at all or anything like that.
And what's your interest you're paying on that?
Nothing.
Nothing. So you're just paying back the loan with no interest.
Yeah,
okay. Awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you have your 401k, you can draw money out of that as a loan, and then you're paying yourself back. So the downside is that money isn't, earning anything sitting in your 401k, but hey, you're probably getting a better return on your investment property right now by putting the money into that and then slowly paying back your 401k, I would assume.
Definitely. So that's exactly why I went through with it. No questions asked. So really out of pocket was 2 grand to buy this property. Along with that came it was already rented prior to me purchasing it. So the garage apartment was rented for like 500, I think it was. And the house was rented for $1,350 per month, I think it was. So as a proration, they credited me like a little over $1,000. So that went towards closing costs as well. So that's why 2 grand is all I took out of my bank account to house hack my second duplex.
So let me dig into those numbers now. What do the numbers look like on the duplex? Are you still living in one side?
Yeah. So
okay. So what are the numbers looking like now? And then what are the numbers going to look like when you move out?
So that's really what's I'm so happy about this one. Right now I'm living in a house, which market rent for it is in the area about $1,550 per month. Okay, the garage apartment behind it is about $900 to $1,000 per month. So it's really good spread there. My mortgage is about $1,500, $1,600, which kind of changes with taxes, but it's around that range. Once we move out, it's already a great property as is. But my ultimate goal, there is enough room underneath the garage apartment as is to pass inspection to add a unit underneath the garage apartment. So that would make it a triplex. And triplexes in the area that I'm at are going upwards of about $500K.
Wow.
A lot of appreciation has happened in like the past 2 years where I am. So really grateful there. Hopefully they stay there, but obviously we don't know. And so that's my ultimate goal.
Gary, I want to jump into something you said earlier where you mentioned that property had been on the MLS for a long time. So I want to know why you think it has been there for a long time. And before you answer that, I do want to tell our listeners that some of my best deals have been on the MLS for a long time. And I don't know if that was because it went under contract and then it fell out of contract due to, I don't know, financing or something. And then it's back on the MLS, but there's 100 more properties that came on the MLS since then, and it just kind of gets pushed to the bottom. But it's actually a really good deal. What was the situation for you as to why was this duplex on the MLS for so long, and why did no one snatch it up if it sounds like such a great deal?
Yeah, so I think it was one of those things where people just started overlooking it because of the days on market. It's like, oh, it's been sitting for 60 days. I don't want to touch it. It has to have some problem with it. And I guess the simple answer there is termite damage. It was pretty apparent, but nothing I'm scared of. We had the house tented as soon as we purchased it, and it's
but
still
that was
standing
something
now.
You figured into your numbers, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
Of course.
So you figured that out ahead of time, and then you make the deal still work based on what those expenses are. Yeah. And you're right. Like a lot of people are afraid of different things like that. But if you actually go and do your research, figure out the cost, you can run your numbers, make sure your offer is low enough that you can pay for whatever needs to be done, and you're making money on the deal.
And to add to that, you can also go on like Realtor, the MLS or whatever, and actually reverse the setting where you can have like latest or longest on here type of thing. Like, you know how you can go price high to low and things like that?
Yeah.
You can actually
Yep.
go to like realtor.com Zillow, and like there's a setting where it's like longest time on or whatever. And you'll see, you know, houses that have been on the MLS for 6 months. And if you just start working them backwards, I bet people would find fantastic deals doing that.
Yeah. So both of my deals, yeah, straight off the MLS. You know, there was no secret there. There was, you know, nobody wholesaling or anything, just right off the MLS that I just found a niche, the garage apartments. And this specific one happened to just be overseen by everybody. And I took advantage of it because I knew it had a ton of value add.
So are you like sitting still now? Or are you going to sit in the duplex for a little bit? Are you looking to buy another one? What's the goal going forward?
So goal going forward is to finish out the third unit,
Okay.
build that out, you know, get some building permits, design it, get it rented out. I may even dabble in some Airbnb to see how my area, you know, reacts to that. So once that is done, I want to do a cash out refinance, and that'll hopefully get me a good cash out of, you know, 50 to 100K to hopefully go into my next deal. But right now, I have a family and we're pretty comfortable where we are. We like where we live. We're like walking distance to the bars in a very popular area. So it's not like
I love how you
leave
transition
here.
from I have kids to walking distance to the bars.
Yeah, Ashley, I'm jealous. You know, I think you're starting like a liquor store or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
you'll have to come visit it.
Oh, definitely. No. So I think that's like that's an ultimate goal right there. If I had a liquor store, I'd be happy. I'd be content. But yeah, so it's I'm gonna say like probably 4 years we'll live here, and then after that get like a standalone single family. But while we're living here, I want to at least purchase one more investment property before doing that. And then, you know, as most people, I guess, moving into more commercial type properties, I want to ultimately buy a quad after this, so I can have kind of like the stack, like Brandon Turner says. I'll have like a duplex, a triplex. I buy a quad, and that'll work my way up there. But after that, you know, hopefully some apartment syndications and mobile home parks, whatever you want to call it. So
I got a good buddy. You said you're in Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
I got a good buddy. It's a secret. Don't tell no one. So everyone listening, put your phone. His name is Gonzalo Corzo. He actually does wholesaling there in Jacksonville. So reach out to him. Maybe he can find you some great deals. He's a really good guy, good friend of mine. So definitely reach out to him for some great deals out there.
Felipe knows everybody. I feel like every single podcast, he's like, "Oh, I know someone there."
I think it's the Latino in me.
Yeah. What ethnicity are you again, Felipe?
I'm born and raised here in Nashville, but my family's from Mexico.
Mexico. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What about you?
I'm Colombian, but I'm basically white.
Do you speak Spanish?
Yeah.
Do you have?
No, I don't. I don't want to let you down, but I don't.
Si te hablo en español, no me entiendes.
Poquito, you know.
Oh my God. I love it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Diego, I think Diego, one of his show on the BiggerPocket podcast, I was researching his properties because he said he had some in Jacksonville, and I was like, oh, competition.
Oh,
all
okay.
right.
Diego's
yeah, you're Diego.
brother.
Yes.
Diego's brother is Gonzalo, and Gonzalo works in Jacksonville. Yeah. So actually, Gonzalo got Diego his properties there in Jacksonville.
Please, everybody take out a piece of paper, draw a tree, and we're going to draw the family tree.
That's hilarious.
Small world, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely, yeah.
But you were saying you did some research on Diego. What'd you say?
Yeah. I was curious. So I looked up his properties, you know, through the city of Jacksonville, whatever, and just found out what his properties were because I was just curious. Like, oh, all right, I gotta get above this guy. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, he'll do some good deals for you. I'm actually working, trying to see if I can find something out there as well. But
okay, yeah.
Yeah, so next thing I know, you guys are going to be on social media together. He always does this to me. Somehow finds a way to meet every single person we have on the show.
All right,
so where are you guys located right now?
So I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah.
And I'm in Buffalo.
Buffalo, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'll go
no
see you
interest
first
to go in there.
Asheville.
It's winter's coming.
Hey, you got a farm. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so back to your story, back to what's the next step. So to purchase your next property, what do you have to do? You mentioned you have to finish out that third unit. So once that
Yeah.
is done, is it saving for the down payment? Is it finding a partner? What's the next step for getting that next deal?
So ultimately, a cash out refinance, just money.
Mhm.
I've thought about, some JV joint ventures. I like the idea of just having me only,
Mhm.
in my portfolio, but I know to really, expand essentially, a partner helps a lot, as you two, are a testimony to.
Yeah, but
So
also you can
it's
have a small and mighty portfolio.
true. And,
That's
and that's the
very
thing.
true.
And I think I'm going to lean more towards that,
Mhm.
at least probably for a quad. I think that's my next goal, is to purchase a quad with whatever I can get out of my cash out refinance where I'm at right now. And then I'll be pretty happy.
That's a really good idea. Uh, Also, I would even think about, what if you like finished out the third unit, made it all nice and pretty, and then just put a HELOC on it, so that when you do find that property, you can pull the trigger instead of doing a cash out refinance where you're right now paying interest on it. Maybe you
Mhm.
just do a line of credit and you just have it available for when you find the property.
True. And that's been an option too. It's one of those Google questions, what's better, cash out refinance or a HELOC, home equity loan? I guess it's
All
all
of them.
relative. Yeah, all
Yeah,
of them, just
all
using
of
it.
them are good. Yeah, just do it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So that's kind of, where I'm at right now. And hopefully it's easy to build it out. I don't go over budget. I think I want 35 to 40 grand as far as building out the third unit. And then from there, hopefully I can get a good return.
Do you have contractors in place? How are you gonna do this?
Solo.
My man.
That's
Oh, you
where
do all the
that's
work
where I can.
yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I can save some money, of course. But I think it's a learning thing as well. Like, I dove deep into like learning everything and anything I could. Once I started finding out about real estate investing, I don't know. I'm kind of at a point where I want to learn something new every day. And it's funny, I joke with my wife all the time. At the end of the day, I'll ask her what something new that she learned that day. And sometimes it's hard for her to say that she learned anything, because I think we get so caught up in life. But it's something that I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't know about y'all, but I watch a ton of YouTube. I think it's one of the most slept on resources out there. You can learn a 4-year degree in like 4 months. But yeah, so that's kind of, yeah.
I
I
like
think that
YouTube.
YouTube is great. There's so many
Exactly.
different things you can learn on there for sure.
Yeah. So as far as helping knowledge, as far as what to do and building that, YouTube,
Yeah.
I also have a great buddy. He lives down the street. He actually lives in the first duplex, longtime friend, and he's very hands-on. He actually is a kind of a welder at my gym. So he's very handy and kind of jack of all trades. So he will definitely be an accomplice to that. But definitely I'll save some money doing it solo and learn a ton as well, because it's something I want to do. I want to build my own house from the ground up one day. I think that'll be a great thing to learn.
And what's better to practice on than, a rental unit and then work your
Yeah.
way up. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
Does your wife trust that you'll be able to build her a house?
I think I've surprised her thus
Yeah,
far.
yeah.
I was so like growing up, I feel like I missed out on being very hands-on and doing anything construction related. It wasn't around me. And then now I'm like, dang, I missed out. I wish I would have learned like a trade when I was younger and stuck with it, because now I'm just like, I just want to learn everything now, because I feel so left behind in like
Just like we
building and
say,
construction.
it's
Yeah.
never too late to get started in real estate. It's never too late to learn anything new, even like a new trade. And
Yeah.
look at, you're going to build your own house. That is awesome. That's like a really cool goal to have.
I'm happy. Hopefully it all works out smooth. You never know. There's always something.
We'll have to get you back on the show to talk about how that build went. That'll be its own show, and the ups and downs of and the learning curve of how that works out. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to know.
Yeah. And I think that's one of my goals too. Like, okay, I'm at like a certain point right now, but I think if I were to go back on the show, it'd be twice as good,
Yeah. So let's talk
Yeah.
about that. What is your goal with how many units you want, a cash number? I know earlier we just said rich, but that's, like you said, relative depending to who you're talking to. I think I'm closer to becoming a multimillionaire than Jeff Bezos is, so that makes me feel good. So what is that goal for you, Gary? What does that look like?
I'm gonna say it's a number per month that I'm getting in. cash on cash return. Steve Jobs said you don't want to be the richest man in the graveyard. So that's why cash on cash returns are such a great thing. So for me, I think about $2,000 per month is living for free, mind you. And so having like my living expenses paid for and cash flowing about $2,000 per month sets me at a pretty good level. I don't care for any social circles or anything like that. I'm a pretty just down to earth guy. I like what I like, and that's really it.
You like Corona, or you like the coronavirus? I see your sign behind you. It says it's Corona time.
Oh,
it says mix both.
Both, but no. Originally that's from our wedding. And so it's just been left around. And during the coronavirus, my wife put it up there. And so
now
I figured,
it's relevant
hey,
again.
Exactly. So
that's great.
That's hilarious.
That's really cool. Thank you for, sharing that with us. What you want your life to look like, because that's really important to give you that motivation, because sometimes being a real estate investor, you go through these ups and downs, and some days it's like tenants rip your hair out and you're like, why am I doing this? And to think about what you have coming up, what you're building for your family, what you are creating. So let's move on to our next segment. It is the MVP. We want to know, who is your most valuable player? And I'm sorry, Felipe, I didn't have you do your little chant there. So go ahead and say it. This is the
MVP. Gary, who is someone that's just invaluable in your investing career? Somebody who is the MVP in you so far?
I'm going to give it to two people. One is the person I said before, Sammy, jack of all trades, always there for me. And his repayment is just beer and pizza, really simple. So as far as, I manage the units myself. So he's always there to help me tackle those hard times whenever they pop up, because something always happens. And then the second one, though, would be the member at the gym who used to just, he'd BS all the time. He would come in for hours, and we talk about real estate investing. That's all we would talk about. So I would give him probably that second place, because he gave me my first book and kind of sparked that idea. And that's what I'd say, definitely.
What advice would you give people to kind of, maybe they don't have anyone like that in their lives right now? What's the best way they can go and, connect with someone, in their community who can either, show them how to do rehabs, or who maybe show them what books to read, or create life lessons like that?
I wish I can give you a better answer. I have a very social job. I guess, I come in contact with hundreds of members each day. So at that point, you find a lot of stories. And honestly, there's a ton of real estate investors who work out at the gym. It's kind of crazy. And so you kind of get to know their story and how they did it, et cetera, stuff like that. So I don't know about a specific answer, but YouTube is great. Obviously, I was watching BiggerPockets since day one. That is really how I got most of my knowledge. As far as mindset goes, there's other things like, have y'all ever heard of impact theory?
No.
No?
Go ahead,
such
expand.
Such a great YouTube channel. It's with, have you heard of a Quest bar?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so it's the ex-CEO of that, whoever made that bar. Yeah.
It's like a protein granola bar thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't taste too good, but it's healthy for you. So he has like this podcast, and it's called Impact Theory. And you want to talk about mindset, drive, everything. He has anybody and everybody on his show. And I think that really gets you in the mindset to be active, to be proactive, take action, even though when you think you don't know enough, because that'll get you into analysis paralysis. I think mindset is a big thing to input into your learning. And then other than that, as far as I'm going to give, do y'all know of Simon Sinek?
No.
Nope.
Have you heard of him? No. So he's like an author. He does like business, leadership books and things like that. So, I think it's to be well-rounded and treat real estate as a business, because it is a business at the end of the day. So Simon Sinek just has some really good ideologies as far as, empathy, treat your tenants with empathy, because you're essentially housing them. So always have empathy for their specific situation. And, you get that environment right, and you get their trust right, and everything is smooth down the road property management wise, because they're not going to text you angrily. They're going to always have a nice tone because you've always treated them with a nice tone, so reciprocation there. So I would say those three things: BiggerPockets and YouTube, impact theory for just some mindset, get you going, and then Simon Sinek for some leadership skills.
Well, that is great because those are free things that anybody can find online. And so I want to link all of those things too. We'll do that at biggerpockets.com/rookie36. So we'll tag all those things so people can go and check those out. I'm definitely interested in the impact theory. But back to what you first said about like how you have a social job and you meet tons of people. It is very easy to get a part-time job as a bartender, cleaning at a gym, doing anything where you are connecting with tons of people, where, being a stock boy at a grocery store. There's so many different things where if you really, really want to connect with people and meet people, then, pick up a side job doing that. I mean, you can go to real estate meetups, stuff like that too. But there was this guy that I met because he worked at a restaurant. And he was the manager there, and he would like go behind the bar and he would talk to people. And this guy had on a repairs and maintenance hat. He did home remodeling. And so he started talking to him because he was so interested in real estate. And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, do you know Ashley Carey? Follow her on Instagram." They're like, "Yeah, we're friends with her." And so they connected us together, and it was like so awesome. And we got to meet a couple times. We've gone to coffee and talk about real estate. And I really tried to get him to run my liquor store for me, but yeah, it was so cool just because he had the job, and he said, "I just talk to everyone, and if I know they have like any tiny little involvement or interest in real estate," he's like, "I just jump on that and I get to know them and who their connections are." And he is going to do awesome just because he's taking advantage of that situation that he has.
Yeah, definitely. I got to ask Ashley, how did the liquor store come about?
Well,
I'm just curious.
Right now, we just submitted everything for the final liquor store approval.
Okay.
So today is the September 24th that we are recording this, and I still don't have my liquor license.
Oh, wow.
So we have everything is submitted. So we just wait now. Okay. Again, we got our conditional approval, and now just for the final. Yeah, but I have a rock star manager.
We'll have to go visit.
Everybody,
we'll have to go visit
Ashley I'll do a
go buy alcohol.
Open house. Yeah,
definitely.
You guys have to buy it, no free. And new business
of course,
starting up.
Support.
Got to. All right. Well, let's go to our rookie request line portion of the show. You can reach us anytime at 1-888-5-ROOKIE to leave a voicemail, and we might use it on the next show. So, Gary, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. Here's today's question.
Scott from the DMV here, buy and hold investor with a question about reserves for vacancy, maintenance, and CapEx. So my question is about the mechanics of how, our model includes a $10,000 a unit reserve at time of purchase. We plan to add 20% per month. Looking for some advice as to best practices for, how and where those reserves are held. Big fan. Thanks a lot, guys.
First and foremost, what's worked for me is having an online savings account, like a high yield savings account. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but like a year ago, it was like a battle between savings accounts, banks trying to, who has the biggest, interest on savings accounts. And it went up to like 2.5% back for just putting your money in a savings account. But ultimately, as far as continuously saving and making sure you're not spending it, an online savings account is what has helped me. I personally use like Marcus by Goldman Sachs. It's easy. Transfers are easy. And, of course, you can always use that money. You can open up a CD, certificate of deposit, to really keep that interest going, having your money work for you. But I guess it depends on what your goal is. If it's just a reserve, you can obviously invest in more real estate, but.
Yeah, Felipe and I have talked about this a lot because he used to have like $1 million in reserves. I'm like, okay, you don't need that much.
No,
Finally convinced him to invest some of it.
I would keep a large amount for emergencies. But when me and Ashley got to talking, what I ended up doing was actually using that money to invest in real estate, and my cash and my reserves for the emergencies or, things like that was actually my line of credit. So I have an open line of credit of, I think it's over like 6 figures, but it's on a paid off house that I have. And I use that line of credit as if I get, something comes up, I pull out of the line of credit and then I pay the line of credit off with the rental income. So I don't keep as much cash in reserves as I used to. But something that Ashley always told me was whatever helps you sleep at night, that's going to be the best answer. Like invest, put, save, whatever you want. But as long as you can sleep at night, that's probably going to be your best answer. Where is your comfort level?
Yeah, I do 6 months of reserves. And then I also have a line of credit that I use to buy houses, but I always keep like an extra amount available in case I have to go beyond my reserves. And then my husband has, income coming in too. So we can always live off of that too. So I think it's really personal preference and, what makes you sleep at night and makes you feel comfortable. There's no right or wrong. I mean, I guess I would say no reserves, no backup plan is wrong, but
having a HELOC in general, just like you said, Felipe, that's what makes that one of the more appealing things for me. Just to always have a HELOC in place for reserves for if anything happens or if I find a good deal. I think that's one of the reasons that HELOCs are so powerful. So yeah, definitely.
Okay, so we're going to move on to our random questions. We have 4 questions for you today that Felipe and I just pick off a list. They could be real estate related or not. And sometimes we just think of random questions that aren't even on the list. So the first one I have for you is, what is one daily habit you've had? Maybe it's something you've always done, or maybe it's something you do now as you've learned about personal finances, personal growth, real estate investing.
I'm a big planner. Geez, Felipe, in another podcast, you said a really great quote by Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in their face. That's such a good quote. And then you have I like planning so much because like Jocko, you guys remember Jocko on the BiggerPockets podcast, Navy SEAL?
Of course.
Yeah. So he's great, about extreme ownership and everything is essentially your fault. So that's why you have to plan for it. So that's why I'm a big planner. I like to do just Post-it notes every day when I go to work. I used to go to work really early, like at 5 o'clock in the morning. And before that though, working out. Obviously I work at a gym, working out, getting the blood flowing. I think Ben Franklin said something like, early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So yeah. And it kind of reminds me of that movie, 13 going on 30, flirty, 30 and thriving.
Yeah.
But I'm 30, by the way, Felipe. I'm pretty sure you're 32, and I think Ashley's age is a guesstimate. But
in one of our episodes, she claims to be 17. So we're trying to get to figure it out.
I probably claim to be 17, 21, 29.
That's hilarious. So Gary, I'd like to know what piece of technology, and I've asked this a couple of times, and I think it's so valuable. What piece of technology helps you run your real estate business right now?
Excel.
Ew.
I'm gonna give it to that. I have spreadsheets on both of my properties. It helps me. I made them, so I know exactly all the numbers, all the metrics of everything. All the data points. And to me, it's what works for me. And, I don't use any software or anything like that. As far as property management for my broker, we use Buildium. It's really popular, but, I don't think it gives you a good enough snapshot, in my opinion. I like a more like profit and losses type thing whenever I'm analyzing my properties.
If you guys can't see right now, Felipe's throwing up in the trash can next to his desk, just thinking about spreadsheets.
Excel sheets just give me chills.
Why? Why is that?
Okay, so I'll give you the answer, and this is probably the first time I've ever talked about this. This is why it stresses me out. I was a D student through high school. My college diploma should probably have two people's names on it.
Mhm.
I was never good. And to me, an Excel sheet, honestly, brings back memories of tests. And I have test anxiety. That's a real thing. And I have that. Like when I look at a test, no matter how good or how whatever I am at it, it freaks me out and I can't do it. And an Excel sheet really reminds me of those kind of things. Now, I do have an Excel sheet for my properties. I'm not going to lie, right? I mean, I got 50 plus tenants. So that's how I run it, but it's
Yeah.
very plug and play. Like my wife has made it very simple where I hit, cash, paid, rent, cash, not paid, not, you know what I'm saying? So very
Mhm.
simple. And I think Excel sheets are powerful for that. But I think for me, it's a mental block that I have to get over. I just don't like the accounting portion of my business. I allow my wife to do that for me. And I'm so grateful for her because I would be, completely lost without it. So yeah, Excel sheets and me just don't do well.
Well, have you ever heard of the saying the A students work for the B students?
Yeah, I actually have that book up there, and that's probably one of
do you?
one of my favorites from Robert Kiyosaki. Why A students work for C students, and D students make six figures or something like that. And it talks about that, and it's really important to understand where that comes from. Because once I read the book, I got it, and it was that
Mhm.
C students work really hard for that C. Most of the
Mhm.
times they would probably be F and D students, but they work really hard and they still make that C, right? A students, it actually comes very simple for them to get those A's. Now, some people might work hard and still, thrive for that A's and B's, but Kiyosaki is talking about that C student is working really hard for just that C. And that was me. I mean, I was studying day and night. And then for my teachers just to say, oh, well, you just didn't put enough time into it. And I was like, you actually have no idea how much time I put into studying for this just to pass, man. Like seriously. And now I've kind of shifted that passion of work ethic towards real estate, which has made me successful in real estate. But, I was that C student 100%.
Okay. Yeah. And that's, I kind of think the education system is flawed in that sense. Like I was basically on a 10-year plan for college, right? I started going to college right off the bat.
A lot of people go to college for 7 years. They're called doctors.
So, next thing you know, I changed my mind a million times, and 10 years later, I still don't have a degree. So here we are, and that's why I'm all about, real estate investing overall.
What's interesting, Gary, is I graduated college in 3 years, my bachelor's degree in 3 years, not because I was smart, but because of me being naive. So when you go to college, your guidance counselor gives you this like form to fill out of what classes you want to take. And it had 7 slots. So I filled out all 7 every semester for 3 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And I didn't know that you could only, you didn't have to do 18 hours every semester.
Yeah.
So I did 18 hours every semester all through college and then some in summer. And I just and then one day I went to my my guidance counselor and was like, hey, what's next? And she was like, well, you graduate next semester. And I was like, oh, okay. I just didn't, because I didn't know. No one told me. It was ridiculous. I didn't know.
You bossed that for sure. I mean, that's a hard task.
I was unaware. Yeah, it's crazy. Ashley, if you want to take the next question.
Sure. Gary, what is a book recommendation you can give? It doesn't have to be real estate investing. It can be anything you want.
So I would say a good book. I've already mentioned Simon Sinek on here, but I think I'll go with like the Gary Keller One Thing. I think that's a great overall book that can be applied in almost every situation.
What's the biggest takeaway you took from that besides what you just said?
Focusing on the one thing. And to that, the whole domino effect, I think, is really powerful as well. How, a simple domino can knock over something 50% bigger in size. And I think that's really powerful when it comes to like scaling, scaling your business, scaling your rentals, things like that. And so that's really one of the bigger things that I took away from that, aside from the focusing on the one thing.
When I read the one thing, I had to read it twice. Like the first time I did it fast, and then I was like, okay, that was really good. I need to read that again, but slow, right? So that I'm not like kind of like freaking out and just super excited, because that's what I end up doing. I end up reading like 80% of pages. But anyways, So I guess for the last question that I have for you, Gary, is I see that you're drinking a ton of water. Like
I'm a little parched.
If you
what
guys
I do
are
with my hands right now.
if you guys don't have YouTube, watching it on YouTube, Gary's like drinking this like huge gallon of water.
He's also now my favorite guest for quoting Talladega Nights, just saying.
Oh my gosh. What's up with the water, Gary? Talk to me.
You know, it's easy. I used to be all about like water fountains, to be honest with you. But after buying just gallons of water, it's just so much easier. I would have to walk a long way to our water fountain in the gym in order to refill it, my little tiny water bottles. So that's when I just started getting gallons of water, and it lasts me like 2 days, to be honest with you.
Is it Jeff Bezos or the guy from Apple, or who was the gentleman that said he loves to hire lazy people for hard jobs because they are more efficient?
I don't know.
I think it was one of those like super billionaires. And I'm like, I'm not saying Gary's lazy, but I love that your mind goes there, because that's probably how you're going to invest in real estate.
He has more time to work because he's not refilling his water bottle. That makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah. Well, Gary, thank you so much for coming on the show with us. We had a great time with you and loved hearing your story too. And we can't wait to see where you go and get your next quadplex under contract. We're excited for that. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find out some more information with you, possibly connect with you?
Yeah. So Instagram at Gary Janica. And I have a YouTube channel. I'm just trying to start out a YouTube channel. I think Felipe, you are too. But that one is simply Gary Janica as well. So just look up my name and you'll find me, and hopefully we can connect and maybe do some business together, things like that.
Yeah, very cool. So I will add those to the show notes at biggerpockets.com/rookie36. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Ashley at Wealth from Rentals, and he's Felipe at Felipe Mejia, REI.